Hello, everyone. Sangat Astrology. This time I will talk about the Leo full moon and the week before and a little bit after that. But before getting to that, I will give you my information so you can contact me. If you like my videos and my work, you can share them, give them the thumbs up. You can always subscribe if that is your will. I would appreciate that very much. And you can leave a comment as well as you like. So I will share the chart for the full moon, and I will start talking about the aspects and the information as I interpret this full moon in Leo. I always remind you that we cannot look at a full moon isolated because the moon has a cycle that lasts about 28 and a half days and or a month roughly. And we always need to look at the full moon and any other of the moon phases within the month as part of the cycle that started with the new moon. And in this case, the new moon started at 1 degree of Aquarius. If you remember, very pretty close to Pluto, even though I don't consider the conjunction because of the different sign. However, the moon, as I explained in the previous video of the new moon in Aquarius, the moon has brought to this new moon the energy of Pluto, the intensity, the emotional intensity. And here we are at the full moon, like the culmination or the maximum potential of this moon cycle in Leo at 16 degrees 40 minutes. And the moon in Leo is always a happy moon, right? It's a moon that is optimistic, is generous. It's a moon that is kind of dry, right? Because Leo is after all, the sign associated, at least in the northern hemisphere, with the summer. And just because it is a fire sign, it dries the emotions a little bit, is the moon that finds comfort and is attached to having prominent leadership, authority, is emotionally attached to being center stage. So we can expect with this moon that people, right, because the moon is associated with the people, the masses, the public, will be in center stage. If you remember from the previous video, the new moon in Aquarius, it was all about a new moon about the society, the people, the networks in society. So now we have here the moon in the domicile of the sun. The sun is shedding its light on the moon. So meaning that the moon is not only in the sun's domicile, but also reflecting its its power, reflecting its shine, its light. The sun in Aquarius is always considered in detriment because it's opposite its own home. However, we see, as I said, the light of the sun, the consciousness here, the human consciousness is shedding the light on the emotional aspect of humanity, right? So it's like having a surrogate take place in his home, right? It's like the moon is the surrogate that is taking the role, in this case, emotional role of the sun. So here we have, and of course, any opposition, as I said, is two energies that are in tension, that are opposing or contrasting each other. So here we have the axis of identity, Leo Aquarius, right? The identity of the individual opposite the identity as the individual as part of society. So we have this dichotomy. And also the sun represents authority. In this case is the authority of the society, the people, the lay people, and the moon is here illuminating the sign of the authority. So we have here not only the axis of identity, but also the axis of authority. And the full moon is in almost perfect square with Uranus. So here we have an event or circumstances that are disrupted. Uranus is the planet of disruption, is the electrical current that is interrupted and go on and off. And it's something that could be a surprise, that could be something unexpected, or something out of the norm, something original and probably innovative in some ways, in the area of Taurus, which represents resources, represents the bank system, financial banks. It also is the sign of the voice, if you like. So as I said, Uranus rules this sun in Aquarius, and we may have new revelations, ideas, and in general, ideas that are asking for liberation, that are revolutionary and trying to get free from restraints, from obstacles. It could be a very blasting impulse, since this is the T-square in fixed signs, right? These signs are not giving in very easily. And in fact, when you think about the sun in tense aspect with Uranus, we are talking about the difficulty to make changes. And oftentimes this Uranus is the jolting light bolt that produces the changes by force, meaning that we don't have a way to escape. This is something that if something happens with this Uranus planted in the mid degree of Taurus, it's a very powerful degree, because the mid degree of any of the fixed signs are also the world axis. So this event or situation or whatever may happen on February the 5th, or 2 days before or 2 days after, has reached a global reach, meaning that it may not be something personal, but it could be, for example, related to financial markets, to the banking system, to the distribution of food and goods and any other resources that are necessary for the sustenance of life. So, as I said, this is a breakthrough that could happen. We see around the world there is the economy is out of bounds, right? Is, if you like the word, because inflation is rampant, and here in the United States, it is kind of controlled, but there are places where the inflation goes to the 700% or 100% or 400%. So those are unthinkable situations for people who are sometimes in countries where they live survival lives, right? So this inflation and this chaotic economic situation, it is giving hunger, famine as a result, added to the climate disturbances like extreme droughts, extreme temperatures, extreme waters, right? In some cases, extreme humidity, and those natural catastrophes that we have experienced thanks to Neptune in the end of Pisces, which is the decan ruled by Pluto, the most violent and transformative place of Pisces. So all of that has contributed to this instability of the Taurus energy, which is, as I said, the survival energy, the resources that we need to sustain life. So there is something in there with Uranus there that is triggering this, there is causing, if you like, there is triggering this opposition between the moon and the sun. So we need to consider this as a unit. And we also have, of course, the nodal axis that both the sun and the moon have been squaring. The sun a few days before the full moon, and the moon a few hours before the full moon. So those are points where both the sun and the moon pass through the wobble. It's called the wobble, but it's also a point of, it means there is a point of oscillation, the point where we need to turn around and change direction. So in this case, emotionally, we need to turn from this north node to the south node of the moon, because the moon is facing this south node of the moon, and renegotiate, transform, because it is the sign of Pluto and the decan of Pluto. It is to transform the way we share energy, the way we share resources, the way we work with trust. We need to revisit the way we used to trust the sources of energy, the sources of substance in the promotion of life and death. So we are coming from a sign of life, right? the moon is coming from the sign of life towards the sign of death. So emotionally, we feel with this full moon, we feel the threat of death. Now, the sun, on the contrary, is coming from the south node towards the north node. And this means that the authorities, right, or the authority figures, and our consciousness is leaving behind the old ways of share resources, as I said, the old ways of um, trusting, right, trusting authorities as well, and focusing on gaining more autonomy towards more independence regarding the provision of resources, regarding the finding or looking for those substances and those sources of energy that will give us the opportunity to maintain life. So we are here, as we have been for a year and a half almost, with this nodal axis, working on the survivals mode, right? And that can be seen in many places in the world. This moon cycle is a revolutionary cycle because Aquarius is the sign that is looking for independence, for breaking the shackles of dependence, breaking the bonds of oppression. And we have seen around the world, I mean, you just need to read the news, starting by, let's say, Peru, Iran, Palestine, Israel, Jordan, even the United States, France, every country, Sudan, South Africa, Germany recently, England, there are uprisings, even Russia, right? There have been uprisings, and if you like, I can share a website that is, let's see. One moment, I will share this page here is the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. And here is a global protest tracker. And this has been updated to January the 10th, 2023. And there are more than 400 significant anti-government protests erupted worldwide. And more than 132 countries have experienced significant protests. And by 23% of significant protests have lasted more than 3 months. So the latest are not included here. At the bottom here is a map, and you can click on the active ones, and it gives you the places where there are active protests. And you can see Brazil, Bolivia, Peru, in Central America, Panama. In Africa, we have Sudan, Ghana, South Africa, Morocco, or Algeria, in Spain, in France, Germany, I mean, you name it. There are all over the place. And these are active protests, but it hasn't been updated. So at the bottom, it lists all the dates and the kind of protests and and things that you can click, for example, here and read what was the trigger, the motivation, etc. But this is not updated. So by that I mean that after the 10th of January, there are many more in different places as well for different reasons. For example, in France, they are protesting for because the government wants to delay the age of retirement. And people who started very young working, they can't they can't go any farther. So there are many other protests, as I said, that have started even in the US, but I am not only focusing on the US. I take a look at a broader picture. Since we are studying here a zero Aries chart, we are talking about the whole world. We're not focusing on any country specifically. So again, the sun is focusing on society and is shedding this light on the moon. So here, the moon is also projecting this divine fire of Leo, our divine creativity and our spiritual leadership. And this is an opportunity for individually to tap into our natural authority and integrity, honesty. However, there is a dark side to the moon in Leo, to the Leo in general, the sign of Leo, and is this show-offing, attitude. Here I am, I'm the center of the world, egotistic, egocentric, and the attitude of I, me, and mine, and I'm so unique, and nobody else is better than me, etc. Like the Sun King, right, in the France of the 1800s. So that is the dark side of Leo, and both energies could be manifested with this full moon. As I said, the divine fire, the natural individual authority, as well as the dark side that I mentioned. So notice that this Uranus in T-square with the moon and the sun is triggering this dichotomy, this opposition. And here what I see is the re-evolution, meaning that the authority now, the Leo, right, the authority has come to society, and it is in society that is the society, the people are taking this authority and reflecting emotionally to the moon. So it obviously this is a very emotional moon. For once we have the trine with Mars, and Mars is still out of bounds until the beginning of May. So Mars could be very aggressive, and this energy is flowing. Mars is applying to the trine to the sun and the sextile to the moon. So this Mars is an applicative aspect. So it is ever so stronger as it goes towards the sun and the moon. And no matter that it is a soft aspect, because a soft aspect only means that the energy flows freely. Mars will not change his nature of being assertive. being impulsive, and sometimes it could be aggressive, right? It doesn't change the nature of the planet. What it changes is that the energy flows easily, which means that this adds to the fire, right? Mars is a fire planet, and out of bound is even more fiery. And it's adding to this opposition, to this tension. So it is a pretty intense Uranian and Martian full moon. Also, the square moon Uranus is also associated with moving houses, disruptions in family affairs, and within the family circle, members of the family that could be disruptive, or the routines may be disrupted by this full moon, or the results or the effects of the full moon. And of course, if there is a natural disaster somewhere in the world, that will, of course, affect the house, not only the house, but also the family life and the members of the family. There could be, hopefully there's no more natural catastrophes, but we cannot guarantee that. But I think it could be more of a financial matter because of something that I will explain. Notice that Pluto is about to enter the anaretic degree, the last degree of the zodiac, and that shows the darkest of the dark of Capricorn, the darkness of Capricorn. And it might be the dark night of the soul for Capricornian entities like governmental institutions, corporations, etc. And we can see many of them are tumbling and kind of very wobbly. We can name some, but I don't want to. Anyways, these patriarchal institutions are coming to a point of instability by revealing the darkest aspects of them. So this pyramidal establishment is losing ground, of course, and it is expected to see, especially when Mercury will be conjoining Pluto. Mercury will give us all the information about the darkest things that there can be, the worst of the worst behavior of those in those institutions. And those who have power as well, because nowadays the governmental institutions, we may trust them. We may think that some people may trust them, may think that they have some kind of authority, but in fact, money has authority. We all know. As consumers, we have given them that authority because we buy their products and we support them, right? If you buy things from a business, you are supporting that business. And since we are supporting those big corporations and big companies, people are supporting their power. So we cannot complain, why this such and such CEO of this corporation is doing this thing or that thing, because we are supporting them. So we are all part of the problem. So because of our behavior. Okay, so who will be affected by this full moon? Well, already people who have planets, angles, or certain points in the middle degrees of the fixed signs, right? We have Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And from the 12 approximately to the 20th degree, more so if you have those points or planets in Leo, right? But equally, and it will be equally tense if those points or planets are in the 90 degree square or 270 square, or in Aquarius. So those people, and also people who have who resonate with this energy will be people who have aspects in their natal chart between the moon and Uranus, between the sun and Uranus. Especially those who have tense aspects will be more strongly felt. Now, there are other things that I would like to point out. One of them is Mercury at 22 degree Capricorn. Very familiar degree, right? And that degree is still sensitive. It's been 2 years since Saturn and Pluto conjoined at 22 degrees, and also Jupiter and Pluto joined very close at 23 and 24. So that 22 degree of Capricorn is very, very sensitive. And having Mercury there, we will learn things about what happened when Saturn and Pluto joined at 22 Capricorn, January 12, 2020. I don't need to remind you, of course, because you cannot forget. I know that you will never forget. So expect journalists and people, investigators, right? People from the journalistic institutions to be Capricorn, right? And even official sources to be telling us information related to that time in 2020. It is very, it will be even stronger when Mercury joins Pluto, right? Because Pluto has a lot of secret information that Mercury can dig out, right? Remember, Mercury was the Hermes, it was the messenger that went down to the underworld to negotiate with Hades, with Pluto, the liberation of Persephone, or Persephone. So Mercury has a good relationship with Pluto, meaning that they know each other, they are familiar, and Mercury can make Pluto speak. So it will be very interesting to pay attention to the news when in a few days Mercury, let me see if I can find the date exactly, because it also is in square with Eris in Aries. Here is Eris in almost perfect square with Mercury. Let me see when Mercury joins Pluto on the 10th of February, meaning 5 days after the full moon. So here we have also another interesting aspect, which is Venus is around the midpoint between the Sun and Chiron. And Chiron is about the midpoint between Venus and Uranus. And Venus is ruling Taurus. So here we have an interesting thing. First of all, Venus in Pisces is, regarding money, is super confused. there is a chaotic financial environment that is a given, because Venus in Pisces doesn't really know where the money comes from, doesn't know where it goes, is it's very difficult to grasp the finances when Venus is in Pisces. And it's also in the decan of Cancer. So we're trying here to find security. However, it's not very possible. Anyways, then we have Venus in the midpoint, and I searched the information about the midpoint between Chiron and the Sun. And what I found out was that Venus is softening the identity crisis. And it's kind of an evaluation of the faults of the authority, right? It's taking stock of the authorities' shortcomings. So, and it also means that the money markets reflect those authorities' faults, the shortcomings of authorities. Now, there could be this charm and politeness and good manners of Venus used to cover up the feelings of not being good enough ourselves, right? Because the Sun represents our consciousness. This feeling of being faulty. So Venus can be kind of hypocritical, trying to save face in avoiding showing, you know, Moon in Leo, who likes to show in the center stage our weaknesses, our shortcomings. The other thing is that authorities may try to present themselves as in a very proper manner, very nice, in order to cover up the faults and the inadequate behaviors, making efforts to appreciate people in order not to lose face, right? So authorities may present themselves in a way that are very nice and very polite and very forgiving, in order to avoid looking, you know, behind those secrets. And it could go, authorities could go to extreme to please, to make people feel well. That's one of the midpoints. The other midpoint is Chiron, midpoint Venus and Uranus. And this could give us unusual effects of the economy on the life, meaning that we are risking the loss of life because of unusual economic downturns. And yeah, Chiron in Aries is the risk of losing the existence, is the sign of birth, is the sign of the first impulse of life. So there could be the problems, the economic problems are threatening and especially in sextile with Uranus, they are economic problems that come up all of a sudden. And with this confusion, this chaotic aspect of that. And remember that Venus in Pisces is idealization of things, confusing situation, chaotic markets, etc. And it could also be this instability in the economy could produce new health problems. Chiron also may represent health problems or healing problems, or some situation where we are learning about how to heal something. So the other aspect that is a tense aspect, I mentioned before, Mercury in square with Eris. This information Mercury is discovering or uncovering from the underworld of Capricorn is triggering this Eris. Eris is the goddess of discord, the one that goes to the table of the gods and throws that golden apple and says, to the fairest, to the most beautiful. And what happens is that she was not invited to the banquet of the gods because she was different. She was not the beauty that always likes to please men. No, she was a warrior. She was the sister of Mars. So she was probably dressed in armor, right? She was not a regular woman. So Eris in Aries represents those who have different identities, those who are rejected because of who they are, right? Aries. And the other tense aspect, so meaning that these revelations will trigger a rebellion, certainly, more rebellion, let's say. So the other aspect is Venus square Mars, and this clearly shows how this war, right, between brothers and sisters, brother countries, throws the finances into chaos. Venus in Pisces. So that's about all the information that I have for you for this full moon. Remember, the Leo shines and Aquario enlightens. So this enlightenment projects the light on the shining Leo. So it will be certainly a time of revelations, a time of people discovering things that could be very clear, right? We have a full moon in the sky in the middle of the night that is very, very clear. It's like you can write under that light, right? So there will be important revelations about authorities, and they could certainly trigger revolutions, more protests, and it could reveal the oppressive Pluto in Capricorn at the end of Capricorn, the oppressive control and power of authorities. So with this, I will stop sharing, and I will thank you for watching this video and following my channel. And please comment, and if you like the video, you can give it a thumbs up. But you can always contact me. You have at the beginning of the video my contact information. I appreciate your comments as well, and I will answer them as much as I can. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.